Hey everybody, welcome back to the PD Rush YouTube channel. Today we're going to take a look at the Mazda MX-5 at Summit Point Raceway. Now this track is another perfect example of one that last time we were here, I figured it out pretty well, and when I came back here to make this guide, so much of it was gone. It took me forever to get back to grips with it. I think I had to run about 40 practice laps before I felt really comfortable again. So that would have been roughly 4 races worth before I felt really good and confident. So, because the races here are 10 laps. Um, some characteristics of this track are some of the quick corners, um, prioritizing your exits, managing your weight transfers, and managing your tire slip at the rear of the car. All of those tools are going to be pretty vital for you to put down good laps and maintain your consistency as the race goes on. We'll talk more about them as we go on in the video, but some of the corners, if you don't quite throw the car into the corner hard enough, it stays really understeery and does not want to cooperate going through the corner with you. So, but on the other hand, there's some corners that if you throw the car in too aggressively, then you unsettle it worse, and we'll talk about those here coming up. So going into turn 1 and 2 with the loop, uh, that's a really tricky corner. Most of what you want to focus on there is prioritizing that exit as you head up to turn 3 in the wagon bend. Um, so going through the wagon bend, there's really only one line through there, so not going to be a great idea to be fighting too hard side by side right there, because after turn 3 of the wagon bend, you've also got the chute, which is going to be on throttle all the way down into roughly turn 5. So if you fight too hard at turn 3, you're just going to cost yourself time all the way until you get to turn 5. The carousel complex is interesting. That's one where you need to maintain some tire slip going through that entire section. So what I mean by that is that you want the rear of the car to feel light. If you're having to turn the wheel harder and harder to get through those corners, then you're in an understeer condition and it's just going to start costing you time. And as the race goes on, you're going to get worse and worse setups for the coming corners. And turn 8 and 9 is a good little example there, where if you get the car out of balance coming out of turn 8 and into turn 9, then you got to be off throttle or you could understeer off into the grass, and you definitely don't want that. So that little complex of corners is really important for how you get through that section quickly, and then how you carry the speed down out of turn 10 onto the back straight is going to be pretty vital for a good lap. Now in the race, you'll have the draft, which will be really helpful. So if you don't get quite the best exit out of that corner, you can still make up for it. So let's take a look at our lap here. As usual, I'm going to be quiet for this section, and then afterwards we'll talk about it. So that was the lap coming through to set a 121.992. which I felt pretty good about. I'm sure some of you watching might be quicker, and that's perfectly okay. We're all here to learn. So, and full disclosure, I'm not real good at taking multiple clips like this and slowing them all down together. So this might be just a little bit quick. As you see, I have a lapse of judgment there, running off course. But anyway, coming down, looking for the 3 cone, down into the third gear before we turn in, and ideally you don't want to hit that curb, but we do in this case. But the rest of the lap was perfectly okay. So coming up here towards the sand trap, there's some cones on the right-hand side near this driveway looking thing. You want to lift before you turn in, and then getting back on the power and just staying on that curb. Here, going over the hill, stay to the left before you kind of maybe have a comfort lift and turn to the right before getting hard on the brakes into this braking zone. Down into second gear, letting the car roll through, up into third real briefly before going back down into second. And again, you're trying to keep the back of the car light. You can see in the bottom right corner there that we've kind of got some slip going on. You can see the back of the car dancing around a little bit, and we're kind of maintaining that momentum and kind of treating it like a pendulum coming out of this S section. Here you want to aim for about maybe middle of the bridge, going down the hill. I don't really know how to look for a marker right here. There's really nothing to look for. I usually end up just going off of what my RPMs sound like, or just kind of get a good feel for the corner itself. That's about all I can tell you through there. So, looking forward now, I want to take a look and see what happens at some of the corners if you take a less than ideal line through them. I tend to be a pretty visual learner, so I like being able to actually see what happens if you take a less than great line through a corner or something like that. That lets me know a little bit better about what I'm doing to the car and how I can maybe fix it if I know what's going wrong. So for our first example here, we're going to take a look at turn one, and let's say you're coming down here making as much speed as possible and you're too late on your braking zone. So you kind of overshoot that apex, and now you've got to slow the car down so much, and it takes forever to get back on the gas. So now you're losing time up this entire straightaway here, even coming into the sand trap corner. So you try to make up for it, and here you turn in too early. And this sand trap corner is a later apex, so if you turn in too soon, you'll kind of run off into the sand trap on the right side. And then as you can see here, if you get the car kind of unsettled, it makes it really tough to hit this braking zone properly. So kind of puts you on the back foot through here. And if you run wide into this corner, it's harder to get the car balanced how you need it, and you're just kind of losing time all the way up through this section. And it's really tough to kind of rein yourself in and get your dithers back about you to pull a lap together if you've messed up that S section, because now you're losing time, maybe even all the way down through here, because this section of the track is so important for setting a quick lap or trying to keep up with the pack. And here you carry too much speed, turn in too early, you'll find yourself mowing the grass, which I'm pretty sure the Summit Point guys won't appreciate because they do a pretty good job of maintaining the grass by themselves without the help of our Mazdas. Um, so looking again, let's say this time you nail this corner. You get the entry just right, but you're a little bit too generous on throttle and you gas it up too early. So you have to do a lift to keep yourself on track and not running off. Pretty easy and pretty common to do there. So let's say here coming up to the sand trap, you turn in just a little bit too late. It's easier to keep the car on track if you turn in late because it is a later apex corner, but you do still lose time. And down in this section, I wanted to show what happens if you don't really work with the weight transfers properly. So as you can see coming down that short chute there, we got the car a little bit out of balance and it didn't want to slow down as well. And coming through this section, if you let the car settle too much and you don't have some tire slip happening at the back of the car, then you're relying solely on the front wheels to turn yourself through the corner, and it just doesn't quite have the grip that you need. So I'm going to pause it right here while we talk about what's going on here. So this whole entire back S section is all about managing the weight transfer and the tire slip that you've got going on in the back of the car. And what I mean by that is you want the car to feel kind of light in the back. So when you turn in, you want to kind of feel the rear of the car want to slip around some, and you can work with that and you can manage it. Um, but if you don't have that going on through this section of the corner, then you're only relying on the front wheels to do all of the turning and braking and everything. And they just can't grip up well enough to do that at these kinds of speeds, so you end up running off into the grass like this. And that's kind of what you don't want to do. Costs you a lot of time. You could even spin back across the course too, and that's never good for your race. So avoid that if possible, and keep practicing that and seeing if you can kind of get that down and work with that. Um, that little technique there. It does take some practice, but when you get it, you'll learn how the flow goes for when you need to turn the car in, and how you get the rear end of the car to kind of act like a pendulum and swing around, and you work with that weight transfer instead of against it. So keep practicing these this week, and I'm sure you're going to improve as the week goes on. I kind of look at a new week to be a new opportunity for us to do better and learn more tricks. So I really hope you learned something in this video. If you did, give us a like and subscribe for more if you found this helpful. And I just want to take a second to thank everybody that takes the time to watch these. I really do appreciate it. It's fun having you guys come on this little journey of making some track guides. It's been cool. I've talked to several of you in the comments, and it kind of blows my mind that so many people are enjoying these and getting so much out of them. So, really happy to have you all along for the ride. And so, thanks for watching. That's all I got for today. So, take care, have a good day, and enjoy your races.